The war room of the Galactic Coalition hummed with worried voices. 47 star systems had united under one banner, and now they faced their greatest threat. On the main screen, red markers spread like a disease across the star map. Each marker represented a world under attack. Commander Oz stood before the assembled leaders. His blue skin looked pale in the dim light. "The swarm has taken 12 colonies in 30 days, he said. His voice was heavy with exhaustion. "Our fleets cannot stop them. They consume everything. They learn from every battle. They are winning." The room fell silent. Fear hung in the air like smoke. An old scholar named Is stood up slowly. His hands shook as he held an ancient data tablet. "There are legends," he said quietly. "Stories of guardians who protected the galaxy long ago. They appeared when darkness came. They fought monsters that threatened all life." Oz shook his head. "We need weapons and ships, not fairy tales." "The legends speak of humans," Is continued. "A species that refused to surrender. A species that protected others, even at great cost. But they disappeared 300 years ago during the Great Silence. Most believe they went extinct." "Then they cannot help us now," Oz said sharply. "We face reality, not myths." Far away in a hidden sector of space, Captain watched the same star map on his own screen. His ship, the Defiant Dawn, drifted silently in the darkness between stars. Around him, 200 other human vessels waited in the shadows. They had been waiting for a long time. "They are moving toward the civilian colonies," said Lieutenant Minu from the weapons station. "Coalition forces are falling back. If we don't act soon, millions will die." Nodded slowly. He was a tall man with tired eyes. He had commanded this ship for 7 years, watching the galaxy from hiding. "What does Doctor say?" A woman with short black hair stepped forward. Doctor carried a data pad filled with reports. "I've studied the communication patterns. They're planning something big. 3 major attacks on core coalition worlds. They want to break the coalition spirit." "How long do we have?" asked. 5 days, maybe 6. Walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "For 300 years we've stayed hidden. We left Earth and built new homes in secret. We watched the younger species grow. We protected them from the shadows, but we never revealed ourselves." "Why did we hide?" asked a young officer named Bora. She was new to the fleet, barely 20 years old. Minu answered her. "Because humans were too strong, too aggressive. Our ancestors feared we would dominate the galaxy, so we chose isolation. We became observers, secret guardians." "But watching is no longer enough," said. "They will destroy everything. It's time to break our silence." He turned to face his crew. "Send a message to Admiral. Tell her I'm requesting permission to make contact with the Coalition. Tell her the time for hiding has ended." 2 hours later, Admiral's face appeared on the screen. She was an older woman with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back tight. "You know what you're asking. Once we reveal ourselves, everything changes. We can never go back to the shadows." "I know," replied. "But if we stay hidden and the Coalition falls, we'll be alone in a galaxy ruled by the... That's not the future we want." Was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. "You have my permission. Take your fleet to the front lines. Make contact. Show them who we are." "Thank you, Admiral." She said softly, "Be careful, they may not welcome us. They may fear us. Then we'll prove ourselves with actions, not words." The Defiant Dawn and her sister ships powered up their engines. Energy crackled along their hulls as they prepared to jump through space. The human fleet had been silent for 3 centuries. Now they would announce themselves to the galaxy. At Coalition Command, Oz was reviewing battle plans when his communication officer shouted in alarm. "Sir, unknown vessels just appeared on our sensors. 200 ships emerging from the Orion sector." Oz demanded. "No, sir. The energy signatures are completely different. They're broadcasting a message." "Put it through." Static filled the room, then a clear voice spoke in perfect Coalition standard language. "This is Captain of the Terran Defense Fleet. We have monitored the threat to your worlds. We are here to offer our assistance. We wish to help." Every being in the command center froze. Terran, human. The word echoed through their minds. "It's a trick," someone whispered. "Humans are extinct." Oz stared at the screen showing the unknown fleet. The ships were sleek and powerful, unlike anything in Coalition records. "Respond to them," he ordered. "This is Commander Oz of the Galactic Coalition. Identify yourselves. Humans have been extinct for 300 years. Who are you really?" His voice came back steady and calm. "We are who we say we are. Humans never went extinct. We chose isolation. We've been watching from the darkness, protecting when we could, but they are different. They threaten all life. We cannot watch anymore. We must fight." "How do we know you're not another threat?" Oz demanded. "How do we know you won't attack us after they are gone?" "You don't," answered honestly. "You have to trust us, but know this, we have watched your species grow for 3 centuries. We could have conquered you at any time. We chose not to. We are not conquerors. We are protectors." Is pushed forward to the communication console. His old eyes were bright with tears. "The legends were true," he breathed. "The Guardians exist." Oz made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. "Captain, we are losing badly against the. If you truly wish to help, we need you at the Battle of Prime. They have landed ground forces. Our defenders are being slaughtered." "Send us the coordinates," said. "We're on our way." The human fleet turned as one and jumped through space. Behind them, the darkness they had hidden in for so long began to fill with light. Ahead of them, a war waited. A war that would prove whether the legends were true. On the defiant dawn, Minu checked his weapons one last time. "Think they'll accept us?" he asked. Smiled grimly. "They will once we fight beside them. Actions speak louder than words. We'll show them what humans can do." Doctor looked worried. "What if we're making a mistake? What if revealing ourselves destroys the balance?" "The balance is already destroyed," said. "They have made sure of that. Now we restore it. Now we show the galaxy that humanity was never a legend. We were always here, waiting for the moment we were needed most." The stars blurred as the human fleet raced toward its destiny. 300 years of silence was about to end. The galaxy was about to learn that some legends are real and some guardians never truly leave. Prime burned. From orbit, could see the fires spreading across the colony's 3 major cities. Smoke rose into the sky like dark fingers reaching for help that came too late. They had been on the ground for 6 hours. 6 hours of death and destruction. "Coalition forces are retreating to the northern continent," reported Lieutenant Minu. "They've lost 60% of their ground troops. They are hunting civilians now." His jaw tightened. Beside him, Doctor studied the biological data streaming from the planet's surface. "They are worse than I thought," she said quietly. "They're not just killing, they're consuming the bodies. They're growing stronger with every victim." A young officer named spoke up from the tactical station. He was barely 23, fresh from training, but his eyes were sharp. "Captain, I'm seeing a pattern in their movements. They aren't random. They're following pheromone trails. They're hunting in packs like insects." "Can we use that against them?" asked. "Maybe, if we can disrupt their chemical signals." "Work on it," ordered. "We might need a creative solution." The communication channel crackled. Commander Oz appeared on screen. His face was covered in ash and blood. Behind him, wounded soldiers limped past. "Captain, the situation is desperate. We're evacuating the civilians, but they are faster than us. We need more time." "We'll give you time," said. "Prepare your people. We're sending down our Marines." Oz looked surprised. "You're risking your soldiers for us, for people you just met." "That's what we do," replied simply. He switched channels. "All ships deploy Marine teams. Objective, protect civilians and buy time for evacuation. rules of engagement, full authorization. Show them what humans can do. Within minutes, humans screamed through the atmosphere. They were smaller and faster than coalition vessels, darting through the smoke like silver birds. The ships landed in the middle of war zones, and the doors opened. Was the first out of her. She was a combat medic, carrying both medical supplies and weapons. Around her, 20 human Marines spread out in perfect formation. They moved differently than coalition soldiers. They moved with confidence born from centuries of training. A group of alien civilians huddled in a collapsed building. They were the same species as us. Their blue skin was covered in dust and fear filled their eyes. They were coming, their chittering sounds growing louder. "Secure the perimeter," ordered the Marine sergeant, a man named. "Get those civilians ready to move." Ran to the frightened group. "I'm here to help," she said in perfect language. The civilians stared at her in shock, humans speaking their language, but there was no time for questions. "Can you walk?" asked them. "They are coming," one civilian sobbed. "We're going to die." "Not today," said firmly. She helped an injured child to his feet. "Today you survive, we'll make sure of it." They emerged from the smoke. They were horrible creatures like a nightmare made of flesh and chitin. They walked on 6 legs, their bodies covered in black armor. Their faces had too many eyes and mandibles that dripped with acid. There were dozens of them, moving as one unit. The human Marines opened fire. Coalition soldiers watching from a distance were amazed. The humans didn't panic. They didn't run. They stood their ground and fought with a precision that seemed impossible. Every shot found its target. Every movement had purpose. But more than that, they protected the civilians without hesitation. When it got too close to the evacuating group, 3 Marines threw themselves in its path. They took injuries without complaint, buying seconds for the innocent to escape. Sergeant shouted orders over the gunfire. "Fall back by squad, cover each other, don't let them through." A massive, bigger than the others, charged at the Marine line. It crashed through barriers like they were paper, faced it alone while his squad retreated with the civilians. "Come on then," growled, firing his weapon into the creature's face. "Let's dance." The claws slashed toward him, dodged barely, and planted an explosive charge on its underbelly. He rolled away as it detonated, bringing the monster down. But the blast wounded him too. He felt his ribs crack and blood filled his mouth. Was there in seconds. "You're an idiot," she said, already applying emergency treatment. An alive idiot grunted. "The civilians." "Safe, you bought them enough time." Above the planet worked frantically at his console. He had an idea, crazy and untested, but it might work. "Captain, I think I can create a synthetic pheromone. If we seed the atmosphere with it, we can make them attack each other." "How confident are you?" asked. 70%, maybe 60. Minu shook his head. "That's not good odds." "It's better than what we have now," decided. "Do it, show us what you've got." Launched specialized missiles into the atmosphere. They exploded gently, releasing invisible chemicals across the battlefield. For a moment, nothing happened. Then they began to act strange. They turned on each other, confused by the false signals. Their perfect coordination broke down into chaos. On the ground, coalition soldiers watched in disbelief as they started fighting themselves. Commander Os contacted the Defiant Dawn immediately. "What did you do?" "Chemical warfare," explained. "We turned their own biology against them. They communicate through scent. We gave them the wrong message." "Brilliant," Os breathed. "Completely brilliant." The tide of battle turned. With the confused, coalition and human forces pushed forward. They rescued thousands of civilians trapped in the cities, and her medical team worked without rest, treating wounded from both human and alien forces without distinction. A wounded soldier looked up as she bandaged his injuries. "Why are you helping us?" he asked. "You don't know us. We thought you were extinct." Smiled gently. We were never extinct, just hiding, and we help because that's what should be done. Everyone deserves a chance to live. By the end of the day, Prime was saved. They had been driven back. 15,000 civilians had been rescued, but the cost was high. 30 human Marines died protecting people they had never met before. Hundreds more were wounded. Walked through the temporary medical camp. He saw his people lying side by side with coalition soldiers. He saw treating a wounded child while tears ran down her face. He saw, bandaged and broken, still trying to comfort his squad. Commander Oss found him there. The coalition commander looked different now. The suspicion in his eyes had changed to something else, respect, maybe even awe. Your people fought like legends made real, Oss said quietly. They protected civilians without orders. They took wounds meant for others. They fought with a bravery I've never seen. We fight for those who cannot fight, replied. That's what humans do. But why? Oss demanded. You could have stayed hidden. You could have let us fall and taken the galaxy for yourselves. Instead, you revealed yourself and bled for strangers. Why? Looked at the medic tent where species from 6 different worlds worked together to save lives. Because that's the kind of galaxy we want to live in. One where people help each other. One where the strong protect the weak. We could have conquered, but we chose to guard. That's who we are. Oss extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. Then, we are honored to have you as allies. Shook his hand firmly. The honor is ours, but this is just the beginning. We'll come back stronger. We need to prepare. Together, Oss said, we face them together. Back on the Defiant Dawn, young Officer Bora asked Doctor a question. Do you think they'll accept us now? Really accept us? Looked at the footage of human and alien soldiers helping each other through the ruins. I think we just showed them something they needed to see. That we're not monsters. We're not conquerors. We're people who care. Was being congratulated by the crew for his strategy. He looked embarrassed but pleased. It was just basic chemistry, he said. It was brilliant thinking under pressure, Minu corrected. You saved thousands of lives today. As the human fleet regrouped in orbit, Admiral sent a message to all ships. Today we revealed ourselves to the galaxy. Today we proved the legends were true. Today we showed them that humanity never left. We were always here, watching and waiting. Now we stand in the light and we will fight for what is right. Stood on his bridge and looked at the planet below. It was and wounded, but it would heal. The people would rebuild, and humans would help them. Set course for Coalition Command, he ordered. It's time to make this official, time to join the fight properly. The Defiant Dawn turned toward the stars, carrying hope with it. The Coalition Council chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from 47 star systems had gathered to discuss the humans. Some faces showed hope, others showed fear. All showed curiosity about the species that had returned from myth. The old scholar, stood before the assembly with his research displayed on massive screens. His hand still shook, but his voice was strong. I have spent the last 3 days reviewing our historical records. What I have found will change how we understand our past. Images flashed across the screens. Battle reports from centuries ago. Mysterious interventions during crises. Unknown ships appearing at critical moments, then vanishing. 200 years ago, the plague of shadows nearly destroyed the home world, is explained. Our medical science could not stop it. Then suddenly, a cure appeared. It was left at our research centers with no explanation. We thought it was a miracle. The screen showed molecular diagrams. I have compared that cure to current human medical technology. The match is exact. Humans saved us and we never knew. More images appeared. 150 years ago, an asteroid was going to hit the colony world. Our detection systems failed, but something destroyed that asteroid before impact. Energy signatures from the explosion match human weapons. 70 years ago, pirates almost overran the trade routes in the Outer Rim. Then their entire fleet mysteriously malfunctioned and was captured. I found records of strange repair bots in their systems. Those bots used human programming language. Is looked around the chamber. In every major crisis, someone helped us from the shadows. Someone protected us without asking for payment or recognition. That someone was humanity. They were never extinct. They were our secret guardians. The chamber erupted in voices. Some delegates were amazed, others were angry. Why did they hide from us? Demanded a representative. Why reveal themselves now? Asked another. Commander Oz stood up. His arm was bandaged from the Battle of Prime. I fought beside them. I watched them bleed for our people. Whatever their reasons for hiding, they are here now when we need them most. That is what matters. At the back of the chamber, a human figure stepped forward. Admiral had been invited to address the council. She walked with quiet dignity to the speaker's platform. "You want to know why we hid," she said. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber. "I will tell you the truth. 400 years ago, humans left Earth. We had mastered space travel and we were powerful, too powerful. Our ancestors looked at our own history and saw a pattern. Humans conquered. Humans dominated. Humans took what they wanted." She paused, letting her words sink in. Our leaders made a choice. We would not repeat those mistakes in the stars. We would not become an empire. Instead, we would be guardians. We would watch over younger species and help them grow, but we would do it from the shadows so they could develop their own strength. "You manipulated us," someone shouted. "No," said firmly. "We saved you. When disaster came, we stopped it. When disease struck, we cured it. When pirates threatened, we ended them. But we never controlled you. Every choice you made was your own. Every government you built was yours. Every peace treaty, every scientific discovery, every work of art, all yours. We only stopped the things that would have destroyed you." A young delegate named Sara stood up. She was a historian, barely 30 years old, and she had been reviewing ancient texts. "Admiral, I found something interesting. Every time you helped us, you left a message in the code or the structure of your aid. 3 words in different languages. You are worthy." Smiled sadly. "Yes, we wanted you to know, even if you didn't understand, that we believed in you, that you deserve to survive and grow." "And now," Us asked, "why reveal yourselves now?" "Because they are different," said. "They cannot be stopped from the shadows. They are too strong, too fast, too hungry. To defeat them, we must fight openly. We must combine our strength. Hiding time is over. Alliance time has come." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. A communications officer ran in, his face pale with terror. "They have launched a massive attack. 3 coalition core worlds are under assault simultaneously. And they're throwing everything at us." The chamber dissolved into chaos. Os pulled up tactical displays. His face went gray. "This is extinction. They're not just attacking military targets. They're going for the civilian populations. Billions of lives." Was already on her communicator. "This is Admiral to all human fleets. Emergency Protocol 7. All ships to prepare for immediate deployment." She turned to the council. "Our full fleet will engage thee at all 3 worlds. Your forces need to focus on evacuating civilians. Get as many people off those planets as possible." "You'll be outnumbered 10 to 1, Os said. "It's suicide." "It's necessary," replied. "Someone has to hold the line while you save lives. Let us be your shield." "We can't let you sacrifice yourselves for us," protested a council member. "We barely know you." His eyes flashed. "Then let me tell you who we are. We are the species that protects. We are the people who stand between darkness and innocence. We are the ones who say not today to monsters. We are human, and this is what we do." She left the chamber at a run, heading for her flagship. Behind her, the council scrambled to organize evacuations. On the Defiant Dawn, Captain received his orders. His ship would join the defensive. Around him, his crew prepared for what might be their final battle. Doctor approached him quietly. "The odds are terrible. We might not survive this." "I know," he said, "but those civilians need time to escape. Every minute we buy saves thousands of lives. Is it worth dying for people we just met?" Turn to face her. 300 years ago, our ancestors asked themselves a question. What kind of species do we want to be? They chose to be protectors, even if no one would ever thank them. That choice made us who we are. If we run now, we betray everything we've built. Lieutenant Minu checked his weapons systems. "All guns charged and ready, Captain. If we're going to make a stand, we'll make it count." Young was working on a new strategy at his console. His fingers flew over the controls. "Captain, I have an idea. It's crazy and it might not work, but—" "Tell me," said. "The ships use biological power sources. What if we could overload them? I've been studying their energy patterns. If we hit them with the right frequency of radiation, we might cause a chain reaction." An engineer named had joined them on the bridge. He was older with gray in his hair, but his mind was sharp. "The kid's onto something," said. "I can modify our weapons to emit that frequency, but we'd have to get close, really close." "How close?" asked. "Point-blank range, suicidal range." Looked around his bridge. He saw determination on every face. These people knew what was coming. They knew the odds, and they were ready anyway. "Send the modifications to all ships in our battle group," ordered. "We'll use plan. If we're going to die today, we take as many of those monsters with us as possible." Across human space, similar conversations were happening on hundreds of ships. Soldiers said goodbye to loved ones. Engineers prepared weapons they might not live to see fire. Medical teams stocked supplies for wounds they might not survive to treat. Walked through the Defiant Dawn's medical bay, checking equipment. She thought about the child she had saved on Prime. She thought about all the children on the 3 worlds now under attack. That thought strengthened her resolve. A young Marine approached her. His name was barely 20 years old. "Doc, I'm scared," he admitted quietly. "Me too," said honestly. "But fear means you understand what's at stake. Those people down there are terrified. They need us to be brave so they can live. Can you do that?" Nodded for them. "Yeah, I can do that." The human fleet assembled in 3 groups. They were outnumbered terribly at each world. They had brought their full might, thousands of ships against hundreds of human vessels. Admiral broadcast a final message to all human forces. "Centuries ago, we chose to be guardians. Today we prove that choice was right. Today we show the galaxy what humanity means. Not conquest, not domination, protection, sacrifice. Love for those who cannot defend themselves. We are the shield. We are the wall. We are human and we will not break. All ships jump to your positions. Make our ancestors proud." The human fleets vanished in flashes of light, jumping through space toward 3 desperate battles. On the Defiant Dawn, looked at his crew one last time before combat began. "Whatever happens today, know this. You are the best of humanity. You are what we hoped to become when we left Earth all those centuries ago. It has been my honor to serve with you." "The honor is ours, Captain," Minu said, speaking for everyone. The ship dropped out of jump space into hell. Ships filled the space around like locusts. The planet below was already burning, but between the monsters and the planet, the human fleet took its position. "All weapons fire at will," commanded. "Buy them time. Buy them every second we can." The battle of 3 worlds had begun. Space exploded with violence. They swarmed around the human fleet like angry insects, their black ships firing weapons that dissolved armor and flesh alike. But the humans did not run. They did not retreat. They stood their ground and fought with a fury that shocked even the Captain guided the Defiant Dawn through a storm of enemy fire. Explosions bloomed around his ship like deadly flowers. His shields were failing. His hull was breaching in 3 sections. But behind him, coalition evacuation ships were loading civilians. Every second he bought meant more lives saved. "Engineering, I need more power to forward shields," shouted over the noise. Engineer's voice crackled back. "I'm giving you everything I have, Captain. Hull integrity at 40% and falling." A massive battleship, 3 times the size of the Defiant Dawn, bore down on them, its weapons charged with a green glow that promised death. Lieutenant Minu fired everything at it, but the monster's shields absorbed the damage. "Captain, we can't stop that thing," Minu said. Spoke up from Tactical. "Wait, its power core is exposed on the port side. If we can hit it with the modified frequency, the whole ship might." "Do it," ordered. The Defiant Dawn rolled hard, engines screaming with effort. Every crew member held their breath as Minu lined up the shot. The distance between the ships shrank to nothing. They could see the individual plates on the hull. They could see the monsters moving behind the windows. Minu fired. The special frequency hit the battleship's power core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship began to shake. Energy coursed through its biological systems like poison through veins. The inside screamed. The ship exploded in a blast that lit up space like a new sun. The Defiant Dawn was caught in the edge of the explosion. It tumbled through space, systems failing, fires breaking out on multiple decks. But they had destroyed the enemy battleship. "Damage report," called out, pulling himself back into his command chair. "Engines at 20%, reported. Weapons offline. Life support failing on decks 4 through 7. "The evacuation ships," demanded. Doctor checked her sensors. "Still loading civilians. They need 10 more minutes." "Then we give them 10 more minutes," said firmly. Another desperate battle raged. A commander named led a team of elite human soldiers called Ghost Corps. They specialized in boarding actions, attacking enemy ships from the inside. It was the most dangerous job in the fleet. And his team had infiltrated a command vessel. They moved through the alien corridors like shadows, planting explosives and disrupting systems. The defenders were strong and fast, but the humans were smart and determined. "Third charge placed," reported one of soldiers, a woman named. "Good," said. 2 more to go, stay focused." A group of warriors appeared around the corner. They were massive, their bodies armored with natural chitin, their claws dripping with acid. His team opened fire immediately. The corridor became a kill zone. But they kept coming. One of them reached a soldier named. Its claw struck but threw himself forward instead of back. He tackled the creature, wrapping his arms around it as he triggered the explosive on his belt. "For humanity," whispered. The explosion killed them both, but it also collapsed the corridor, blocking the reinforcements. "Keep moving," ordered, his heart heavy, had been his friend for 7 years, but there was no time to mourn. The mission came first. The lives they were protecting came first. They reached the ship's central nexus, the biological computer that controlled the fleet's coordination in this sector. Placed the final charges personally. "Charges set, everyone out," he commanded. Ghost Corps raced back toward their insertion point. Behind them, the charges detonated in sequence. The command vessel shuddered and died. Across the battle, hundreds of ships suddenly lost their coordination. They faltered, confused without their central direction. Coalition forces saw the opening and pushed forward, supporting the exhausted human fleet. At noon, Admiral commanded the largest human force. Her flagship, the Eternal Shield, was the pride of the human fleet. But even that mighty vessel was being overwhelmed. They had brought their entire swarm to this world. "Admiral, we've lost 30 ships," her tactical officer reported. "They are pushing through our lines. They're heading for the evacuation zones." Watched the tactical display. She saw coalition ships struggling to protect the fleeing civilians. She saw her own forces dying to buy time. And she saw the, relentless and hungry, closing in on millions of innocent lives. "All ships, new formation," she ordered. Pattern Delta 7, we're going to create a wall they cannot pass. Her officers looked at her in shock. Pattern Delta 7 was a suicide formation. Ships would link their shields together, creating an impenetrable barrier, but it meant they couldn't maneuver. They would be sitting targets. Admiral, someone began. I know what it is, said calmly. Send the order. Those people need 5 more minutes to evacuate. We will give them 5 minutes. We will hold the line. Across the fleet, human ships moved into position. They locked their shields together, forming a glowing wall between thee and the fleeing civilians. They threw everything at that wall. Energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, biological acids. The human shields blazed with absorbed damage. Ships began to fail. The Eternal Shield took hit after hit, felt each impact through her deck plates. She saw good people dying on her screens, but the wall held. 4 minutes, counted the tactical officer. Back at the Defiant Dawn drifted in space, barely functioning. Fighters swarmed around it like predators sensing wounded prey. Inside, the crew worked desperately to restore any system they could. Captain, they're preparing a final attack run, Minyu reported. His weapons station was destroyed, but he was manually controlling backup systems. I've got nothing left to shoot them with. Looked around his damaged bridge. His ship was dying, his crew was exhausted, but through the window he could see the last evacuation ships lifting off from. They were getting away. Millions of lives saved. Doctor, how long until those ships reach safe jump distance? He asked. 90 seconds, she replied. Minyu, how many fighters are targeting us? All of them, maybe 200. Made his decision. Engineering, give me everything you've got in the engines. One more push. His voice was resigned. Captain, if I do that, the engines will overload. It'll destroy the ship. I know, said quietly. Do it anyway. All hands, this is the captain, abandon ship. Get to the escape pods, that's an order. The crew stared at him. Captain, we can't leave you, Bora protested. You can and you will, said. Those evacuation ships need 30 more seconds. I'm going to ram this ship into that formation. I'm going to buy them those 30 seconds. Now go, please. Doctor had tears in her eyes. Go live. Tell them we did this gladly. Tell them humanity will always protect them. Slowly, reluctantly, the crew began to evacuate, all except Lieutenant Minyu. He stayed at his station. I gave you an order, Minyu said. And I'm disobeying it, Minyu replied. Someone needs to fly this bucket while you steer. Besides, if this is our last stand, I want to be here for it. Brothers to the end. Smiled through his tears. Brothers to the end. Young refused to leave too. I calculated the impact angle, Captain. You'll need me to adjust the trajectory. I'm staying. Appeared on the bridge, having sent the last of her patients away. Someone has to tend to you stubborn fools, she said. I'm staying. Engineer's voice came over the comm. Engines are primed, Captain. I'm staying too. This is my ship. I'm not leaving her. All across the damaged vessel, crew members made the same choice. They could have escaped. They chose to stay. Well, said, his voice thick with emotion. If this is how it ends, I can't think of better people to end it with. Let's make them remember us. The Defiant Dawn's engines roared to life one final time. The ship accelerated toward the formation, picking up speed, becoming a missile weighing thousands of tons. The fighters fired everything they had, but the dying ship kept coming. On the bridge, sparks flew from consoles. The hull screamed under the strain, but the crew held their positions. 30 seconds to impact, counted calmly. All evacuation ships have jumped to safety, Doctor reported. We did it. We saved them all. Then it was worth it, said. The Defiant Dawn smashed into the formation at impossible speed. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface, a bright star of defiance in the dark sky. 200 fighters died in that moment, and with them, the brave souls who had chosen sacrifice over survival. At noon, Admiral saw the defiant Dawn's final moments on her tactical display. Tears ran down her face. "Captain," she whispered, "your sacrifice will be remembered. All ships, in honor of the defiant Dawn, push forward. Show these monsters what humans do when they anger us." The human fleet, inspired by such courage, found new strength. They pressed their attack with renewed fury, and though for the first time began to fall back. Commander led another boarding attack, his ghost core striking fear into the commanders. At all three worlds the tide slowly turned. The humans had bought enough time, the civilians were safe, and now, with coalition forces rallying to their side, the defenders pushed back against the darkness. The battle of three worlds raged on, but hope had returned to the galaxy. Hope bought with human blood and human courage. The silence after battle was strange. Space, which had been filled with explosions and screams, now held only floating debris and exhausted survivors. At all three worlds they were retreating. Their forces, broken and confused, fled into deep space. They would return someday, but not today. Today belonged to those who had defended the light. Commander Oss stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the rescue operations. Thousands of escape pods drifted through space, each one holding human survivors. So many had died. The human fleet had lost 30% of its ships, but billions of civilians were alive because of that sacrifice. "Send all available ships to collect escape pods," Oss ordered. "Every single one. We leave no one behind." His crew moved quickly, coordinating with other coalition vessels. The rescue effort was massive. Ships from a dozen different species worked together to save the humans who had saved them. His voice crackled over the emergency channel. "This is Combat Medic, broadcasting from Escape Pod Delta 73. Captain is alive. I repeat, the captain survived. He needs immediate medical attention." Oz felt his heart leap. "Get that pod aboard immediately." Within minutes, Escape Pod Delta 73 was brought into the Coalition flagship's hangar. The hatch opened, and medical teams rushed forward. Inside, barely conscious, was Captain. Next to him were Lieutenant Minu, herself, and Engineer. They were all wounded, burned, and barely breathing. But they were alive. "The others," whispered as they loaded him onto a stretcher. "My crew." "We're collecting them all," Oss assured him. "You ordered them to abandon ship. Most of them listened. You saved them, Captain. You saved everyone." Closed his eyes, tears of relief sliding down his face. Then he passed out. In the medical bay, doctors and nurses from 3 different species worked together to save the human survivors. Despite her own injuries, tried to help until she finally collapsed from exhaustion. The Coalition medical staff caught her gently and laid her in a bed. "She fought beside us on Prime," one nurse said softly. "She saved my brother, now we save her." Across the 3 battle sites, similar scenes played out. Humans who had fought to protect strangers were now being protected in return. The galaxy was learning what it meant to have humanity as allies. Admiral's flagship, the Eternal Shield, had survived but was badly damaged. She sat in her command chair, looking at the casualty reports. So many names, so many brave people who would never go home, but the mission had succeeded. The civilians were safe. A communication came through. "Admiral, Coalition Command is requesting to speak with you." Straightened her uniform, "Put them through." The council chamber appeared on her screen. Representatives from all 47 systems were there. Commander Oss stood at the center, his arms still bandaged but his posture proud. "Admiral," Oss began formally, "the Galactic Coalition wishes to recognize the actions of the human fleet at the Battle of 3 Worlds. You faced impossible odds. You sacrificed yourselves for people you barely knew. You proved beyond doubt that humanity is not a legend, but a living force for good in this galaxy." He held up a medal, gleaming in the light. "By unanimous vote of all 47 systems, We award the Coalition Star of Valor to every human who fought in this battle. This is our highest honor, given only to those who embody the best of what we can be. Bowed her head. We accept with gratitude, but we did not fight for medals or recognition. We fought because it was right. We know, said is the old scholar. That is why you deserve recognition even more. True heroes never seek glory, they seek only to do good. A young coalition officer stepped forward. It was Sara, the historian. Admiral, I have completed my research. I have documented every intervention humanity made over the past 3 centuries, every disaster prevented, every plague cured, every threat neutralized. You have saved our civilizations at least 47 times, and we never knew. You were the guardian angels of the galaxy. She showed her findings to the assembly. Image after image of human action, always from the shadows, always protecting. You could have ruled us, Sara said, her voice filled with emotion. You were stronger than us, more advanced, but you chose to serve instead of command. You chose to protect instead of conquer. In all our history, in all our legends, we have never seen such nobility. Admiral felt her own emotions rising. Our ancestors made a choice 400 years ago. They asked themselves what kind of species we should be. Not what we could take, but what we could give. Not how we could dominate, but how we could serve. That choice defined us. It made us who we are. Commander Oz stepped forward again. The Coalition formally invites humanity to join us as full members, not as subjects, not as rulers, but as equals and partners. Will you accept? Looked at the faces on the screen. She saw hope there, trust, friendship. We accept with one condition. We will stand with you as protectors. We will defend the weak and fight the darkness. But we will never seek power over you. That must be understood. It is understood, Oz said warmly, and it is exactly why we want you with us. 1 month later, Captain stood on the observation deck of a new ship. His injuries had healed, though he would carry scars forever. The new vessel was called the Dawn Eternal, built to honor the sacrifice of the defiant Dawn. It was a joint project, designed by both human and coalition engineers, a symbol of unity. Beside him stood Minu, recovered and assigned as his second-in-command, had been promoted for his brilliant strategies, supervised the medical bay. Engineer ran the engine room. The crew of the Defiant Dawn, those who had survived, formed the core of this new ship. It feels strange, said quietly, being in the light instead of the shadows. Strange but good, Minu replied. People know who we are now. They know what we stand for. Do they? Wondered. Do they understand that we're not perfect, that we're just people trying to do the right thing? They're learning, said Doctor, joining them at the window. And we're learning too, learning to accept help, learning to be part of a community instead of distant guardians. Commander had been awarded command of a special task force, combining his Ghost Corps with Coalition Special Operations. He walked past them on the observation deck, nodding respectfully. The elite soldier had become a legend among both humans and aliens. Young Officer Bora had been promoted to lieutenant. She stood at a console, coordinating with coalition forces. The shy young woman had found her confidence in battle. On the planet below, a ceremony was taking place. Monuments were being erected to honor those who fell at the Battle of 3 Worlds. Human names were carved alongside coalition names. In death, they had become equals. In sacrifice, they had become family. Sara, the historian, was publishing her complete findings. The book was called The Silent Guardians, Humanity's Hidden History. It became the most widely read text in the galaxy. People everywhere learned about the species that chose to protect rather than rule. At Coalition Command, Oz met with Admiral to discuss the future. They had retreated, but they would return. New threats would always emerge. We need to prepare, Oz said. The galaxy is dangerous. There will be other monsters. Then we face them together, replied. Not as separate fleets, but as one force. Combined strength, combined wisdom. You've changed us, Os admitted. Before you arrived, we were losing hope. We thought that we're unstoppable, but you showed us that courage can overcome impossible odds. You showed us what it means to never surrender. You've changed us too, said. For 300 years we carried our burden alone. We thought we had to do everything ourselves, but you've shown us the value of partnership, the strength that comes from unity. On the Dawn Eternal, Captain received a priority message. Deep space sensors had detected something unusual in the galactic core, something massive, something that might be worse than the. He looked at the data with serious eyes. Then he smiled slightly. Lieutenant Minu, prepare the ship for departure. Doctor, analyze this data and give me everything we know about the galactic core. Start working on tactical scenarios. A new threat already? Minu asked. There's always a new threat, replied. That's why we're here, that's what we do. He activated the ship-wide communication. Attention all crew, this is Captain. We have detected a potential danger in the galactic core. It might be nothing, it might be everything. But we're going to investigate because that's our job. We protect, we serve, we stand between darkness and light. Some of you are veterans from the Defiant Dawn. Some of you are new to the fleet, but all of you are human, and that means something. It means we don't run from danger, we run toward it. It means we don't abandon those who need us, we defend them. The galaxy knows who we are now. Let's remind them why legends exist. The crew responded with cheers. On the bridge, officers took their positions. Coalition allies joined the formation, ships from a dozen worlds standing ready to face whatever came next. Admiral watched from Coalition Command as the combined fleet prepared to jump. She thought about the journey humanity had taken, from hiding in shadows to standing in light, from lonely guardians to valued partners. Safe journey, she whispered to the departing ships. May you always find your way home. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving trails of light across the stars. On the Dawn Eternal, Captain looked at his diverse crew, humans and aliens working side by side, different species, different worlds, but one purpose: protect the innocent, fight the darkness, never surrender. Course set for the galactic core, reported the navigation officer. Take us in, ordered. Whatever we find there, we face it together. The ship accelerated into the unknown. Behind it, billions of people across 47 star systems looked to the stars with hope instead of fear. They knew now that they were not alone. They knew that guardians watched over them. The legend had been true all along. Humanity had never left. They had always been there, watching, waiting, protecting. And now, in the light, they would continue to do what they did best. They would fight for those who could not fight. They would stand for those who could not stand. They would be the shield against darkness. Because that was what humans did. That was who they were, not conquerors, not tyrants, but guardians, forever guardians. The human race had been dismissed as legend. But when they came to fight, they proved that some legends are real, and some legends never die. They just wait for the moment when they are needed most. And then they answer the call.